Tensions continue to escalate in Bangladesh after India objected to the denial of bail for the Hindu priest Chinmoy Krishnadas Brahmachari. Clashes in Chittagong have resulted in one death following protests against the sedition charges. Demonstrations have spread to Dhaka, with political leaders in India condemning the arrest which has taken place and have urged for minority safety. The BJP has been holding protests in Kolkata. The Congress has issued its concerns as well. I'm now joined by the senior Congress leader, Dr. Abhishek Singhvi. Thanks very much for being with us. Do you believe, Dr. Singhvi, that the situation in Bangladesh is progressively spiraling out of control?
I think that's more or less fair comment. I think my criticism, condemnation of Bangladesh is severe, but I wouldn't hold the Indian government blameless either. And let me explain to you, Vishnu. This is a very serious issue. It is serious enough to find this Mr. Das handled like this. It is serious enough to have the victim actually being punished and denied bail. It is serious enough to have other deaths in the last few weeks. But that is only a very small part of the story. Bangladesh is our immediate neighbor. It is now being riven by sectarian violence. We tend to forget that this is a minority population of Hindus alone of about 8%, 1.3 to 1.4 crore persons. There are other minorities there. Now, unfortunately, and that's where I would start with my condemnation of the Bangladesh, a hate for the Awami League has transformed into a hate for India and unfortunately a further hate for Hindus. Now, that is an incredible equation. It's an unacceptable equation. And forget India, it can lead to implosions in a country like Bangladesh itself, which, by the way, broadly since its creation in 1971, with some minor aberrations, has been a much more balanced, inclusive, secular culture than our immediate Western neighbor.
Yes.
So it is, I think, a very serious matter, especially for India, since we are a geographical neighbor and we cannot alter that fact. And this is simply your visceral hate for Awami League becomes your visceral hate for India and in turn for Hindus, which is a ridiculous situation.
Sure.
Now, as India is concerned, I said I wouldn't hold it blameless because, you know, you can get all the kudos and all the snapshots and all the optics when you go around all the world to in your foreign policy saying India is a Vishwaguru and India is reaching out everywhere. Well, you had to do something prior to the Awami League's fall, and then certainly in the interregnum of the last few months after its fall. That was the time for hard-nosed, very clever, and very strategic diplomacy. To that extent, you are not blameless. Nobody's saying it's intentional. Nobody's saying that we, want this kind of thing to happen. But then somewhere there is a failure. And it can be a very costly failure because you've got China breathing down your neck on one side. You've got other powers. Of course, you've got Pakistan. You can forget about Pakistan. But even otherwise, you have so many other geopolitical factors here that the government of India's diplomacy and its efforts, I'm not going into details whether hurry in which you gave refuge to Hasina, how you handled it, how your communication abilities were, how you articulated your stand, all of this going to a mix which is called foreign policy and diplomacy.
Do you believe Muhammad Yunus, the interim leader, is not in charge?
Absolutely. Even his most ardent admirers will not, virtually they will say in public, this is a puppet. He was picked up in circumstances which were designed to make him a puppet. There was a vacuum. Nature and politics both abhor a vacuum. So a pliant, pliable, accommodative, controllable puppet was found. He's a decent man by all accounts. In fact, I met him here in some official functions, though I don't know him well. He's a very moderate, sober person. But today, the position which he's in, he can neither be his natural self, because he'll be virtually assassinated, nor can he speak his natural language, which is inclusion and accommodation and carrying everybody along. And he is being led by diehards, not even of the interim council. But there's a diehard group out there which goes partly in the interim council and partly, in the erstwhile elements of that other party, Khalida Zia's party, which believes, and possibly not wrongly entirely, but that's not the answer, which believes that Hasina has kept them out for too long. So they want retribution. They don't want loaves and fishes of power. They want retribution. And he's neither here nor there. He's like a, completely a rudderless person.
All right, Dr. Singhvi, I think you raised some really important points, and I'd like to thank you very much for sharing those with us. Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, fourth-term MP, one of our finest lawyers, a senior advocate in the Supreme Court. Thanks very much, sir, for being with us.